So first thing I want to do is gather my materials. It really depends on what you are going to do with your design as to what you need. But a few things that I have obviously is my paper. I've got the paper for the bunny and the bunny's tail. And then I've got this kind of for an outline that I'm going to do. And then I've got these. These are called die cuts. You don't have to have these. You can actually kind of draw this basic shape. As long as it's in a spiral for these kinds of flowers, you can quill this and cut it out on your own. If you like quilling and you want to go into it, then I highly suggest just going ahead and getting these. You can also get a Cricut if you want. They probably have this. I haven't actually looked on Cricut, but I assume they have this. But I have this and a Big Shot machine that I'll show you here in a minute to use my die cuts with. But essentially it'll cut out the shape for you in your paper. Okay, so I have a few, Peony, Gardenia, and Daisy. I just thought those were very springish and would be cute. And then I've got my card paper. So I have, this one's the actual card that I'm going to use. And then I have the blue because I didn't have a pastel blue. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make like an egg shape. I don't have an egg shape. I'm really kind of bummed about that. I don't know why I don't. So I'm going to try to make an egg shape out of this. And this is going to kind of be the frame that will go on here with the bunny. Okay, so, and then I've got just some paper for the actual flowers, all that good stuff. The paper is kind of, it's thin. It's still cardstock, but it's not like the really thick cardstock. Like you have some cardstock that has a lot of texture to it. And that works great for scrapbooking and card making. But for quilling, you really want that thinner, non-texturized cardstock, because what that's going to do is fold easier. The other one's not going to fold as well, and it's going to look a little bit more rough. So I have very simple paper here. And then you need your glue. I recommend PPA matte glue. This one works really, really well. But, you know, Elmer's works really well too. So whatever you want to use. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? I think what I'm going to do first is make my bunny, and then everything else is going to be kind of around that. So I did quill, this is the paper that I'm using. I'm making a gray bunny, and I know you're like, what, why a gray bunny? Well, I'm doing that because I really want the tail to stick out, and the tail is white, so I'm making a gray bunny. So this quilling paper right here is 12 inches long, okay? This is pretty standard. If you go into like Joann's or Michael's, you'll see that they'll have boxes with just straight quilling paper, and they're usually about 12 inches long. You can get it longer. I love to order from Quilt Creations online. They have longer pieces, but this is the gray that I had, so I'm going to work with it. Now, I took 2 pieces just to test it and see how big it came up, and I did a tight coil with those 2 pieces, and you get this really tiny little thing. This is not going to work for what I want, so I'm going to have to glue multiple pieces together in order to get this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to count 10 pieces. I think 10 will work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you're going to take 10 and put the excess to the side. All right. So one thing to keep in mind when you are quilling is that, yeah, you have this nice straight cut edge here, but it'll actually blend better if you just rip off these tips. It's kind of like when you're paper macheing, you want to have those rough edges, and it blends better. That's kind of the idea here. So I just ripped off 3, and I'm going to just rip off the end and just put that over there. And I'm going to do it on both ends so that, again, it can blend just a little bit better to each other. And I'm going to do that for all of these. I don't recommend doing this in larger clumps because it'll start to actually bend the paper as well, and it can just be harder to actually rip. So just smaller little sections. So apparently I did 4, 3, and 3. So whatever. Yeah. But if you can rip it without really bending it, then go for it. Do whatever you can do. Now, if you don't have quilling strips and you don't want to go purchase quilling strips, you can make quilling strips. Again, if you have like a die cut machine, or if you have like a Cricut, or if you have a paper shredder that does like straight lines, you can use that as well. I don't want to make my own quilling paper, so I bought some a long time ago and I have a lot. All right, so now that those are all ripped, what I'm going to do is start putting them together. So it's hard to explain. Let me see if I can get this close to the camera. Okay, so one side is different than the other. So this side, the edges are kind of pushed down, whereas on this side, they're coming up a little bit. I don't know that you can see that. It might be too hard to actually see on the camera. But whenever you have your quilling paper, try to notice that, because you want to line them up the same direction. So like this side, the edges are kind of going down. So the one that I attached to it, I want to make sure that the edges are going down. So it's going to be this way. What I'm going to do is take a little needle, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right on the edge. They do have like little bottles that have like precision tips you can use, but I used this for a while and I didn't like them because, so when I'm gluing it on there, I want to try to get it as straight as absolutely possible. And if you don't, then just redo it. Anyway, I tried the precision tip bottles and it kept drying out. And I researched it and it said, put it in a sponge that has some water so that when you're not using it, you just kind of put it down into the sponge and that'll keep it moist. And I did that. And then like if I had excess glue, what was I supposed to do with it? Well, I guess I was supposed to just kind of leave it in there. It told you to put like a little ballpoint needle in the tip and let it sit. So I did, and then it rusted. And so my glue had rust in it, and that was no good. So just between all of that and then trying to fill up those stupid little bottles with the glue, it just became frustrating. So I just started going back to the way I originally had done it, because I have more control. And why not? This glue takes a while to dry anyway, so I'm not worried about it drying out in the, in my little paint thing. All right, so I'm going to keep doing this for a little bit. It's going to take some time, so we will probably speed up this part of the video. Okay, so now that that's done, I have this really long piece of quilling paper. I'm going to pick one end, doesn't really matter, and I'm going to use my quilling tool. Now, if you don't have a quilling tool and you love quilling, I highly recommend getting one. These are so helpful. If you don't want to get one because you're testing out quilling, then you can use a toothpick or anything similar to a toothpick. So you just put the... let me try to focus that. You just put the paper in the little slot there. And I always like to leave a little bit hanging out, otherwise you're going to lose the paper. And then you just start spinning. Now for your first time, this is actually a lot harder than it looks, and you may get really frustrated. Just keep trying. I promise it gets easier and it gets better. I know my first time I was so annoyed and frustrated, and I couldn't even believe that, you know, I was trying this, but it does get easier to do. Okay, so when you get to the end, just add a little bit of glue. And hold it in place for a little bit until it dries. So this is called a tight coil. If you wanted to do a loose coil, what you would do is you wouldn't actually glue it here. What you would do is take it off of the tool, let it expand to where you want it to be, and then you would glue down the end. But we're doing a tight coil because we're doing a little bunny. And I'm just kind of squishing it to make sure that it's all good to go. I love it. That's the perfect size for a little bunny butt. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little head and then ears, and then we'll do the tail. I have the bottom piece. Now I'm going to do the top piece. I don't want it quite as big as the bottom. So I did 10 pieces here. So I'm going to do, I'm going to start with 5 and see how that looks. And then we will go from there. So I've got my gray. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, and again, I'm just going to rip the edges just a little bit. Not a lot, but again, just to kind of give it that, those edges that'll be easier to blend in, okay? All right, so same thing as I did before. I will show you when I am done. Okay, so here's where 5 pieces got me. I'm not quite, I want it to be a little bit bigger. I mean, that's okay, but I'm going to jump up to 7. So this is one of those fun things where I have already taken it off of my tool. So how do I keep going here? Very carefully. That is the key. I do this all the time because sometimes you'll misjudge, or sometimes the thickness of the paper will really affect it, and so the numbers are a little off, so on and so forth. So you just kind of have to be careful as you work. You rip off that edge and rip off this edge. And of course, with every piece, it's also dependent upon what you want. So, you know, just be flexible. And the more you do this, the easier it will be. So what I'm going to do is, one piece at a time. So once that's on there, I'm going to kind of roll it up. You can, of course, just let the coil come undone and re-roll it if you want. That's fine too. I just don't want to have to re-roll it, so I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so that was 6. Actually 6 is okay. Let's go with that. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue here at the end. Put it on there. And I'm going to hold it down for a few minutes. Well, a few minutes. Really, I mean a few seconds. I've never sat here and held something down for a few minutes. There's just, nah, no thank you. I'm not going to do it. Okay. So there's the bunny's head. Okay, we're going to finish up with the gray by making the ears, okay? So what I'm going to do is actually use a tool. I'm going to use this thing here. So this thing has different size, I don't know what you would call it, like it's a frame kind of thing. You let one of these coils loose in here and it'll create it to that size. So what I'm trying to do is think about, I want them to be long ears. So how big do I need them to be? The bigger they are, the longer you're going to be able to actually pinch them. So I think 2 might be too long. So I'm going to go with 3. And this thing, I taped this. This is the instructions that came with it. I took it, cut it out of the actual packaging and then taped it to the back. And this has been one of the smartest things I've ever done in my life. I highly recommend you do this because it just helped you so much. So like size 3 is about 8 to 10 inches. So I'm going to do the 10 inch because I want to make sure that I have enough. And I want it to look a little bit more full. So I'm going to take my piece, measure it to 10 inches. So that should be right here. No, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So, and then just kind of rip it. Put it into the quilling tool or whatever you have to use. Roll it up. Set it in there and let it expand. Just let it sit for a little bit. It will continue to expand. It'll kind of adjust itself. It'll look really good. All right, and then the next ear, because obviously it's a bunny, so we get 2 ears. I say that as if things have more than 2 ears. I wonder if anything does have more than 2 ears. You know, I don't know the answer to that. It's not cool to assume. I'm sure there's something that has more ears. Things have multiple eyes, so why not more ears, right? But this bunny has 2 ears. So we're going to... Actually, you know what? I saw this kitten. I think its name is Franken-Kitten. It does have 4 ears. 2 of them don't work, but it does have them. It's really cute. If you ever get a chance, I believe it's on Instagram under Franken-Kitten, like Frankenstein, but Franken-Kitten. Very cute. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of let that sit for just a second to kind of just air out, and then I'm going to glue those together. Okay, and then what we're going to do is just kind of lift it up out of it, and I'm going to glue that edge down. So you want to be careful and not fold your circle in any way when you're doing this or pinch it. You want to just hold it very, very carefully and let the edge dry on there. So just a few seconds. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is pinch this on both ends. What I like to do is if I'm going to do like a sharp edge, I like to make sure that the end of the paper actually is part of that edge. It just, I don't know, it just kind of helps and it makes sense to me to kind of get it out of the way. There's one bunny ear. So all I did is I pinched right here at the edge, so this part's the edge, and at the same time I'm pinching down here at the bottom and creating, let me focus that a little bit better. There we go. So doing this at the same time. There we go. I pinched this one in just a little bit more than this side so that I have that kind of ear look. Okay, so now we're going to make the tail. So this is a little bit thicker than the other paper. So this paper right here that I actually made the bunny out of, I believe it's about 1/8. Yeah, it looks to be about 1/8 of an inch. I don't have an, oh wait, maybe over here. Yeah, it's 1/8 of an inch thick, whereas this one is 1/4. So I did this for a reason, because I wanted a thicker piece so that I could make the tail. I'm going to do like a fluffy tail. Now, you can do this in multiple ways. You may be able to get like a die cut. Well, I know you can get it if you want. You can get a die cut that has the lines already in it. So it's like one long piece with a bunch of lines. It kind of looks like a comb. And what it's going to do is cut this in the way that we want it to look. You can also get this little, it's a very simple little machine, and you feed the paper through it, and it will just, and you sit there and hit it over and over and over again. And it has a little blade that will cut through it as well. But again, if you're doing this just for fun and you don't want to, spend the money, you can do this on your own. You don't have to have all these fancy gadgets. So what I'm going to do is, I know, let's see. So this is a little bit thicker, plus I don't want it to be obviously that big. So I think I'm going to try 3 inches first. I have plenty of white, so if this doesn't work out, then I've got more I can go back to. I'm going to grab my scissors, some good scissors. I found my scissors, and I'm going to just cut... I don't want to cut too far in. You do need like a base. Oh, let me try to, yeah, okay, that's better. You do need a base, so you don't want to go too far. Like if I cut all the way to here, that wouldn't be enough of a base to actually make this. So I'm just going to cut to about here. And I'm just going to do these little cuts. They're all kind of different sizes, and that's okay because it's animal fur. Animal fur is not all exact, right? So some of them are going to be longer and skinnier. Some of them are going to be short and squat. I'm not going to lie. After a while of this, though, you will wish that you had the, the little tools. But again, if you aren't going to do this for very long, you don't have to go out and purchase them. Okay, so I have that completely done. Now what I'm going to do is just like normal, I am going to roll it up. And I'm going to glue the end. So now all I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this up closer to the camera. Is I'm going to kind of spread this apart. And now I have an adorable bunny tail. Now he's not glued together yet, but he's all there. Oop, oop. There we go. Bunny tail. Okay, so now let's make our flowers. Okay, so I have this thing. It's called a Big Shot. It's a behemoth. It has seen a lot of love and use over the years. So it works really, really well. You can see like this has just been used so much. I used it a lot for my wedding when I was making some of the decorations. So what I'm going to do is make these flowers. So my peony, my gardenia, and my daisy. Okay, I'm gonna start with the daisy. My initial thought was, oh, the daisies are yellow, and then I looked them up and they're actually white with yellow centers. So I got some white here, and I'm going to make a yellow center out of quilling paper. So what I do, and this is just me, I don't know if other people do this, but I like to just try to save as much paper as possible. So I just cut a piece of paper big enough to just kind of go over the edges of the design that I'm specifically focusing on. So like this one has the leaves as well, but I don't need the leaves. I just need the flowers. So I'm going to put it there. I'm going to set it down. Oh, wait. Because this is so thin, I need both of these. So set it here. Set it here. And then I'm going to roll. So it's got some texture from previous things, but that's okay. There is my outer layer. And here's my inner layer. I'm going to set those aside because I'm not done making my flowers yet. I looked up the colors for peonies and gardenias, and I was like, I just want to go with whatever I want to go with. Daisies, I went for a different color, but these I want to do what I want to do. So I'm going to do pink for the peony. They may actually come in pink. I don't remember now. One of them, maybe it was the gardenia, was just white, and I was like, meh, I already have a daisy in white. Okay, so I finished cutting these out using the Big Shot. So these two are pretty straightforward. You just kind of glue them on. You can curl the leaves a little bit, or the petals. So you just kind of fold it up and then curl it around the edges there. So what I'm going to do is find my glue. Where in the world? Oh, there it is. Wow, that was that was a moment. I'm going to glue the little one into the big one. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue right there in the center. Not too terribly much, but just enough. And then I'm going to hold it so that the petals kind of go in between the others. And I'm going to set that one aside. Okay, so these have a very strange shape to them. And part of it is because this middle piece right here is actually part that you're going to glue everything down to. So here's how it works. You start with the end of the spiral and you just place that in your tool. Okay. And you just roll it as you would anything else. Try to keep it even. Some of them are not going to stay even. Some of them are very, very frustrating, and that's okay. Don't spend too much time trying to get them to all stay even. It's okay. And you're going to go as far as you can. Okay, and then what you're going to do is take it off. And you're going to have this really pretty little flower. And you're going to put glue on that little centerpiece right there. And you are going to hold everything down into that little center, okay? Make sure you hold it down long enough so that it actually dries. Otherwise, your petals are going to fly everywhere, okay? If you want it to be a little bit more spread out, you can. Just as long as that middle piece is there so that you can have the all the pieces actually attached to the flower. It's going to take a little bit. While it's doing that, I'm going to just kind of curl a little bit of these out. So I'm still holding a pretty good grip on the glue. I say that and then it like falls everywhere. There we go. Oh no, that one's not glued down. This one's going to give me problems tonight, I can already tell. I'm going to put a little bit extra glue down there because apparently it is just not wanting to do what I want it to do. Okay, so I'm going to just hold this until it dries. Actually, maybe if I set it down, I can put something, well, actually it feels pretty sturdy. I'm just going to not touch it for a little bit and let it dry. Okay, so same thing with this one. I don't know if you could tell, but the paper was giving me a little bit of problem trying to go into the little open slot there. So I just backed it up, the tool a little bit on the paper and then brought it back in. So, you know, just if you need to, go further down the paper and just slide the tool to the end. Sometimes with the sticker cardstock, that happens. Okay, so I'm just looking at my basic design here, and what I decided is that I want I want to have this kind of raised up a little bit, and then just kind of create like a basic shape around the bunny. And so what I'm going to do is make two smaller flowers to go here. So I have these that I bought in a kit, so but it's the same basic function. You can even like definitely make these yourself. Again, it's just that spiral shape is the important thing. And so I'm going to use this to just kind of add just that other little pop of color, but to also kind of even it out. And give it just a little bit more oomph to it, you know? So let's see. And I'm going to do the same color pink over here so that it kind of brings the whole thing back together. And then I'm going to, of course, have my egg in blue, and then I'm going to do like a purple outline. I think it'll look good. You know what? I could be completely wrong. It could look terrible. But I think it's going to look really good. So yeah, so I'm just going to make my other rows. Now these you can find in like I said, in a kit. And it comes with some really cool stuff. You can get this kit that like you can make necklaces with. And it comes with like a little container to actually put the roses in. It's super cute. I found mine at this craft store called AC Moore. I don't think it exists anymore, but I'm sure you could find it in like Joann's or Michael's. I'm sure online, or you could look at Quilled Creations as well. They have a lot of great stuff for beginning quilling. They really, really helped me when I first started. Yeah, I like that. Okay, and then I think I might add in a couple of leaves as well. Just around. Okay, so let me, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to focus and I'm going to do the egg shape. So I need it to be at least, let's say that's about here. So 1, 2, 3, at least 4 inches big. I didn't have pastel blue, so I'm using a card. So to make an egg shape, well, we know it has like a round, one round end and then more of a pointy end, right? So let's find something round that we can create. It needs to be about 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 1, 2. Yeah, about 3 inches. Is that 3 inches? That is 3 inches. Hold on to everything. You never know what's going to come in handy. Okay, so 3 inches. I'm just going to kind of mark it out here. Okay, great. So now I have a semicircle. That kind of looks like an egg. Is it 4 inches? Oh Lord, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is! Nice. Okay, so instead of sitting there trying to draw, well, I can't fold it in half because, no. Okay, no, I was right. If I fold it in half, what I can then do is cut this one out and then trace it onto the other side of the paper. Yay, making your own templates. Okay, so that is very pointy for an egg. let me adjust that. There, that looks like an egg. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Okay, so then I'm going to use the other side and trace this out onto it. And I'm going to cut it out. There we go. That was just getting on my nerves. There was no real reason I did that other than it just was annoying me. This is probably more of a pointed egg than most eggs are, but you know what? It's all right. People will understand what it is. And without a template, that is what we're doing. If you get, what I like to do is just if you see random like templates, just grab them. Maybe it's a, what is it called? Oh, a stencil. Just grab them because then you have them, right? And it's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. And so what I just did is I just curled the edge here, and I just did kind of a loose coil. This is like the least exact thing that you're going to do when you're quilling, is just kind of figuring out what you want it to look like. So I like that. I'm going to cut it here. Yeah, why not? That looks good. So just play around with this. I can't give you exact because it's not an exact thing. You are literally just creating a frame for the egg. You can do it however you want. This is completely like, you don't even have to do this if you don't want to. If you're like, ooh, I don't like the look of the egg, then fine, don't include one. Okay, so I'm kind of changing my mind about how I want this to look. This is why I this is why I don't do a lot of how-tos, because I like to play and I like to figure out how I want it to look. So I was going to initially just do like the egg and the flowers down at the bottom, and I just didn't like it, the way it was coming out. So I think what I'm going to try to do is just do like a full circle of flowers. So what I'm going to do is this little daisy down here. I just did another tight coil, which I just showed you how to do that earlier. And what I'm going to do is just kind of push it a little bit from the bottom. And that's just going to give me a little bit of a curve. Oh, let me focus in on that. Let me try to focus in on that. There it is. Just a little bit of a curve, just to kind of give it that 3D effect. So when you do that, on the inside of the curve, you just take your glue. Ooh, don't put it on your finger like I just did. And just kind of spread it around in there. And then set it aside. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is make a bunch of other flowers. I probably will add a couple of different colors in there just to make it look a little bit more unique. Okay, so when I started this project, I was going to make a card. And I don't know why, but everything I'm doing, I'm not enjoying with the card. So I'm going to switch gears. I showed you how to make the flowers. The last step that I did was the little centerpiece for the daisy. When you are ready and it's dry, or mostly dry, you just put a little bit on the edges. Just a little bit, you don't need too much. And then you pop it there into the center of the flower. Be careful when you push down, not to push down too hard so that you don't just ruin all the work that you just did. Yes, it's glued in place, but it could still get ruined. So if you would like to finish a card, go for it. Make a card out of these flowers, because I don't know, I'm just not happy. I've made all these little flowers and I've sat here and I've played with them and rearranged them in different ways. And actually, that's kind of cute. But I couldn't combine the two. But I did show you how to do it. So you come up with your elements of how to actually put this together if you would like. Because, I don't know, I couldn't get the bunny. It's cute, but I'm not happy with it. So yeah, you figure out how you want to do the card, but I'm going to show you something else you can do with this bunny, should you decide, like me, not to make a card. This is what this channel is like. Sometimes I change my mind mid-craft, sometimes I just like to go with it. As an artist, I like to go with the flow. I like to go with whatever it is that I'm feeling at the moment and whatever it is that I need to do. Sometimes I just switch. Unless, of course, it's a commissioned piece, and then I figure it out because I'm asked to do so. But in this case, it's not. It's just me playing and doing what I want to do. So I have the pieces of the bunny. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tail and go to the back end of it. So let me get focused on that. And just put some glue. Okay, pick where you want on the back side to put the tail. You know, normally it would go kind of down at the bottom. Just put it in place. Okay, and then the head, you can just glue it on. Now, if you're gluing this onto a card, you wouldn't have to actually glue these pieces together. You could just glue them on the card and lay them together, if that makes sense. Of course, I get a little piece of string in there. So I'm just going to leave it like that to dry for a second. Then I want to pick out my ears, which way I want them to go. I kind of like them together. I think it kind of looks cute, but yeah, I'm going to put them together. I think it looks cute. It's not necessarily perfect, and I love that one's kind of floppy for me. I just find that adorable, so I'm going to go with it. My heart wants what it wants tonight, and that's what I'm going to do. So I just put a little bit of glue on the edge, and there's a little bit too much, so I'm actually just going to grab some of that and share the wealth there. And I'm going to do that. Now, the thing that I'm going to use to really put these together is you could, if you wanted, brush on this glue that I have right now that I'm using, the PPA. You can use that. It is clear drying, so you can just use a paintbrush, one that you don't really care about, and just kind of brush it on. Let this completely dry before you do this, but you can use this. But what I'm going to use is this stuff called Crystal Clear Coat, and it's going to give it a really nice coat. So I'm going to let that dry, and then we will finish this little brooch, and it's going to be super cute. You can wear it for Easter or whatever. Okay, so he is dry now. So what I'm going to do is I've got the pin to go in the back, and then I've got this stuff called Crystal Coat Glaze. Okay, like I said, you can use the PPA if you want, but this is going to give it like a shine. If you want the colors to stay exactly the same as they are, then just use the PPA. But if you want a little bit of a shine, use this. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this, maybe a little bit more. Hopefully I have some. There we go. Just a little bit of that in there. I'm going to grab a brush. So I have this really old, kind of cruddy brush, and I am just going to paint it on. And what this is going to do is really secure everything, as well as give it that hard coat. I'm not going to paint the tail because that's just not going to look right. So I'm just going to kind of paint around it. You can paint the ears, that's fine. And what I would do is after you've done one coat, go ahead and let it rest, and then do the other side, okay? When you're done, so when you're done, go ahead and wash out your brush to try to get all that out. You know, use soap and water, that kind of stuff, to actually get it out of your brush. And then, of course, you use a crappy brush, so if it doesn't come out, then, you know, use this for like dry brushing in the future. All right. Okay, so let it dry. So my last video didn't save. I don't know what happened. So anyway, he is ready to go. He's all dry and ready to go. So I'm going to attach this little brooch thing to the back of him using E6000, and then he will be ready to go. So E6000 is it's a really good glue for jewelry. It's also really hard to get out of the tube. I have not figured out in all the years that I've been using E6000. Maybe I just need to look into it, like how to get it out of the freaking bottle really well. Now or the container. We'll call it a container. What is this called? Squeeze tube? Maybe it's a tube. Anyway, so I just squeezed out a little bit. That was not enough. That was ridiculous. I was kidding myself there. There we go. All right, so E6000, like I said, it is like a jewelry glue. It's really good. It's industrial grade. I use it for jewelry or other things that I want to make sure are very, 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 very secure, especially if it has to do with metal. So I'm just using this. Now I probably could have just spread that on here. Is that already dry? That's terrible. Try it again. Third time's a charm. There we go. Ugh. I probably shouldn't touch that, but the damage has already been done. What in the world is happening with all of my glue? What is this? Okay, all right, let's just take it directly out of the thing. Okay, screw it. Let's just go this way. Maybe it'll still work. What in the world? E6000, you have let me down. Okay, so E6000, there must have been a hole in the tube or something because it's basically just blobs. Bummer. So I'm going to use tacky glue. It'll work too. This one better not be dry. I literally just bought this. I try to use all of the stuff before I buy new. So I thought I just had E6000. I really did. But clearly I did not. So, but Alien's tacky glue also works well. Sobo glue is also good. I really like Sobo, actually. I'm out of Sobo. It's harder to find. I use that one a lot in theater in particular. Again, I could have just squeezed this on there directly from, but I like to have some kind of control over it, which is why I just did that. So, all right, I'm going to gently place that on. You could also, did I just put it on upside down? I totally did. Luckily, it's not dry yet. You could also probably just hot glue this. And as you can see, like there's or I don't know if you can actually see it, there's a little bit of glue right there that I didn't want, so I'm just going to remove it really quick with the needle before it dries. Okay, and then let it sit and dry, and then it will be done. Okay, at this point it should be dry. It's been a little bit of time there, so yeah, that's pretty dry. There you go. That is a brooch. I do recommend, if you have it, to use the E6000. It will just make sure that this brooch lasts longer. But the tacky glue also works for like a little short gift. If you're doing this with like kids, this is an easy craft to do with kids. You know, just use the tacky glue so that they don't touch the E6000. It is an industrial form of glue. So there it is. There's your little brooch. You can make it any color that you want. If you want it to be the front of the bunny instead of the back, just take off the tail and voila, there you've got the front of the bunny. I did actually also make a card. I liked whenever I placed them haphazardly, I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually kind of cute. So I did make a card. So now we have the whole kit and caboodle of a card and a gift. So if you celebrate Easter or Ostera or any of the other mini holidays that are happening in the next few weeks, I hope that you have an enjoyable time. And if you don't, then I hope you just have a wonderful spring and enjoy nature at its finest. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love for you to like or subscribe the video. And if you do like the content, please be sure to check out my Facebook or my Instagram. I also have a TikTok for short videos if you would like to watch those as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.